Hello and welcome to another episode of Unplugged. As always, I'm Charlie, and this time we'll be checking out the 2016 LA Cosplay Con in Long Beach, California. Let's go check it out.
So let's go ahead and get the ball rolling here. My name is Ed Webb. I am the founder of the Campus Gamers at CSU Bakersfield and the coordinator of the Extra Life program in Bakersfield. And I'm going to let everybody on our panel here, which is probably one of the bigger panels today, because we didn't know when to stop inviting people, to just introduce themselves. And if you have something else you want to add, you are welcome to do that.
Well, my name is Alex Gonzalez. I am a member of the Los Angeles Extra Life Guild. We work with Children's Hospital Los Angeles to raise money through the program called Extra Life, which we'll talk about a little bit.
I'm Johnny Gomez. I'm part of the Bakersfield Extra Life Guild, and I actually just finished at the university today.
Yeah, he skipped graduation to be here today, so this was more important. So
It's for the kids.
For the kids.
For the kids.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey guys, my name is Zach Weigel. I actually run a different gaming charity called Gamers Outreach. We build portable video game carts for kids in hospitals. Although in a weird kind of full circle way, sometimes hospitals end up using Extra Life funds to help build some of the gaming carts that end up helping kids while they're hospitalized. So it's kind of this cool synergy that exists among all of us. But yeah, Ed invited me, super happy to be here and support.
My name's Charlie Ammerman. I am the vice president of the Extra Life LA Guild, along with Alex, who talked about. I'm also the founder of Something Wicked Studios, a YouTube channel that participates in Extra Life every year.
My name is Bar Gomez. I'm with Ed over here at the Bakersfield location for Extra Life, and just finished my master's degree at Cal State Bakersfield as well, just past Wednesday.
Congrats, man.
Thank you.
yeah, we can hear you.
That's
coming out of your chest.
I don't know how much cable these things have.
The panel does not cover costs and damages to cosplays.
It's Bill of school.
Interesting. Yeah. Hello, my name is Johnson Tran, currently a student at CSUB. By the Campus Gamers, help out with the Extra Life event and other things related to helping support it.
Okay, let's hand the microphones directly in front of
Well, or just step forward.
too.
We'll figure this out.
If you take them out of the stands, this should make it a bit easier.
Yes, but it makes a lot more noise.
I'll bet you if you just said it, they could probably hear you.
No, we talked about it earlier.
Oh, really? Okay.
My name is Dylan Kumar. I am the current president of the Campus Gamers at Cal State Bakersfield, and I do help a lot with the Extra Life events as well, for the fundraising and all that good stuff.
Hey there, I am Tomas Ponce de Leon. I am the CEO and founder of PDL Enterprises. I am a consulting firm that specializes in the video games industry. I have 5 years experience with video games publishing and business development. So I do that here locally in Bakersfield, and I wanted to be able to help out Extra Life, not only because CSUB is where I go, but also because being someone in the video games industry, it's a great way to be able to connect my hobby, my work, and also giving back to the community. So, on to you.
Hello everyone, my name is Michael Lazo. I'm a student at California State University of Bakersfield, and I am part of the club on campus known as Campus Gamers, and I'm also going to be the public relations officer and Extra Life coordinator, so I'll be working hand in hand with Ed over here, who founded Campus Gamers, and we do a lot to do a lot of charitable events such as Extra Life in Bakersfield specifically, and we're trying to get more events going on, and that's probably what we'll be talking about today.
Hello everyone, my name is Mar Hernandez. I'm a student at Cal State University Bakersfield, and I'm also the Vice President of Campus Gamers here, and we'll go more into detail about what we do as a club and Extra Life in general.
So Extra Life is a national program with Children's Miracle Network, and the way that it works is that people sign up online, just like if they were going to do a 5K, they ask friends and family to sponsor them, and then when the day comes, they play games. And how long they play, how they play, what they play is all up to them, but the money goes to their chosen Children's Miracle Network hospital, usually the one that is local, but that's not mandatory. If they have another hospital that they have a special connection with and they'd like the funds to go to that hospital, they can have it set up that way. So we're going to have our first speakers will be our guests from the Extra Life Los Angeles Guild to talk about a little bit about how the program works in their area.
So just to kind of go into it, a little bit of history on Extra Life. It was originally founded in 2008 by Jeremy Doc Adams, who was working with a girl named Victoria Edmond. I'm sure you guys have heard the name around, but she was a cancer patient, and she fought and fought. And Jeremy had a really close relationship with her, and unfortunately she passed away. And so that year, because she passed away in January shortly after the holidays, so that year Jeremy was working on a radio show, and he reached out to a group called Sarcastic Gamers to see if they were interested in doing a 24-hour marathon to raise money for the hospital that was treating Tori. Well, yeah, we refer to her as Tori, Victoria, but so they did that the first year, and they did really well, and they raised a bunch of money for Texas Children's Hospital, and they did it again. And then they connected with Children's Miracle Networks and started this whole big thing called Extra Life, which is what you guys see now. And pretty much how it was explained a little bit earlier was you have people sign up, and you go out there, recruit the guild specifically, just like we have some members here who also do the guild stuff, go out and they do panels and things like that. Like if you guys walk the floor, you'll see a booth down there. And you pretty much just reach out and connect to kids, or connect to these people who want to raise money for you and sponsor you, just like you would, like I said, sponsor a 5K runner. And one of the things in particular for me that really stands out for this charity is that it reaches out to, it covers costs that things normally wouldn't be covered. So if you have, for example, infant diapers, you have to buy like premature birth diapers for kids, that money goes to cover things like that. Or patients who show up and don't have any insurance. So that money covers that. So 100% goes to that. There's no weird like admin overhead, like, okay, well, the admin people take this much of a cut and then the rest goes towards the hospital. So it's 100% goes directly towards the kids, whether it's building a game station like Zach was mentioning here, or like I said, just treatment for a kid who shows up with no insurance, because Children's Miracle Network hospitals don't turn kids away. It's not something they do, so they get to cover all of them. And so that's what I do here at the Extra Life Guild, and I think I've covered most of it, a little bit brief about what Extra Life does, at least with the LA group. So.
So I guess to elaborate on what the fundraising angles of Extra Life, so it kind of breaks down to two areas. What the Extra Life LA Guild does is focus mainly on recruitment, meaning we're at a variety of conventions like the LA Cosplay Con throughout the year. I think we do on average about like 15, 20 individual events or so. And they range from, I think we were at one or two insurance conferences last year, all the way up to the more typical ones like E3 and Anime Expo in our area. We bounce all around. For instance, we're in Long Beach today here representing the Guild. Well, me and Alex are here for the panel. There's a full booth downstairs in the vendor room area that you can sign up for, and it's all about, from that angle, recruiting. On top of that, we also offer advice about how to fundraise, how to go about the streaming processes, and as the name Guild implies, it is a group for other people to join if they wish to get involved on that angle of it. In addition to that, from a kind of outside of the Guild angle, fundraising is generally done via streams or YouTube, just general charity drives. As Alex mentioned, it's kind of like a marathon, or it is a marathon, but it's more like a traditional marathon in that you do get people to sign up and pledge amounts of money. As a YouTube channel, I actually have a competition amongst the people that work on the channel where we all compete to who can raise the most money individually that then goes to a pooled hospital. The way Extra Life essentially works is that you can raise money individually and it still winds up going to the hospital of your choice via the systems in place. You don't have to raise it specifically as a guild, but being part of a guild is great because you get to reach other people as a result.
Yeah, and then just a little bit on, we used to be big focus on video games, but it's really expanded out of just video games. They've done board games. I don't know if you guys heard, but there was a group, I forget where, they played dodgeball for 12 hours. Cool. It was the best, worst idea ever. Because afterwards, like, yeah, it's for the kids, but we're like, oh, it hurts so much. But yeah,
there wasn't a bullpen.
Yeah, that's true. But like, yeah, so it's expanded way beyond just video games. We've done board games. Like I said, there was a group that did bowling, dodgeball, and all that. So it's really everything you want to do that involves gaming, just kind of reach out. And you don't have to necessarily stream it per se. I know some people who generally just like to stay at home and do their thing, and friends and family sponsor and things like that. Like And we have one big marathon day, and this year, I believe it's November 5th?
November 5th.
Yeah, November 5th. So you don't have to necessarily do it November 5th. Some people like to break it up over the month. Some people like to do it one day or do it another day. So it's not really, you're not really tied down, but as far as the national day goes, that's the big one where you'll see Twitch light up with Extra Life all over the place.
Yeah.
Which is really cool, because the Twitch really works well. I think actually Twitch is one of the partners with Extra Life, and so they work really well with us as far as getting like the advertisements and stuff out there. But yeah, so I mean, whatever your pick your poison as far as gaming goes. If you're a board game connoisseur, you can definitely do that as well. It's totally up to you.
Yeah, as the concept of what's defined as a gamer has expanded, the various activities of what people do for Extra Life have grown with it. If you want to do a 24-hour event that's skipping rope the entire time, no one is going to stop you. I think one of our more famous ones is actually, what's her name, does the like 4-day dance marathon?
Oh, yeah.
She's at Bakersfield.
Yeah.
Carrie
Yeah,
Swidecki.
that's right. Yeah. She had a 4-day dance. Yeah.
Yeah, so Carrie started a few years ago doing a DDR, and she moved on to do Just Dance, and she did a world record of 78 hours continuous on Just Dance, and proceeded to follow that up the next year with a 138-hour Just Dance marathon. So you can imagine, 2 hours of that and I would be dead, and she did it for 138 hours. And the last time that she did it, they live streamed it over the official Extra Life Twitch stream, and the guy who made Five Nights at Freddy's donated $2,500 to her stream. It was very cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I guess you could almost call Extra Life as the general concept of gaming community giving back in a way that most people don't have a chance to, because gamers are stereotyped as a variety of unfortunate things, and we're not. We're generally generous, nice people that just need an outlet to do good.
Yeah, definitely the definition of gamer has changed over the years, and gamers are probably, without a doubt, some of the most giving people I've ever met. So it's only fitting that there's charities like these that exist that go out there and definitely give to kids. So that's the reason I do it. I'm sure, I think the panel here can agree it's pretty much what we like to do, is like to give back, and this is our medium that we've chosen, and it's been fun.
I think one of the, if you don't mind me interjecting real quick,
Please.
one of the cool things about Extra Life as well is that you end up creating funds for hospitals that sometimes frankly don't have access to a lot of unrestricted resources.
Yeah.
Great example, in Flint, Michigan right now, you guys have probably seen some of the headlines. The city of Flint is going through a water crisis. So if you're not aware of this, basically an entire city's water supply was contaminated with lead. And just in the last few months, they've been kind of discovering this and making corrections. Well, the city, they have a hospital there called Hurley Children's Hospital, and it's a city-funded hospital. Well, right now, the city is going through this process of trying to change all their piping to fix the water problem, and there are always maybe kids who've been infected with lead poisoning, no one knows yet. Well, because of this, the hospital doesn't really have a lot of money to work with, actually. And so I'm kind of advocating for Flint here in some ways, but Hurley Children's Hospital is part of Children's Miracle Network, and literally right now, we actually just delivered one of our gaming carts to them, and one of the things the woman was telling me is like, they don't really have anything for the kids aside from like the bare minimum. So, I mean, there are kids who are coming in, sometimes, they're getting treatment, or they have to send them elsewhere to another hospital, and that sometimes can be expensive for the family. Well, when Children's Miracle Network kicks in is when there are instances where, hey, we have a family that there's no way they can afford to go to another hospital. Like maybe the nearest hospital is 3 hours away, and this family is based here, and for them to go to a certain location for extended periods of time would just be really difficult. Well, they can pull from funds that are raised through Children's Miracle Network to do that stuff. If they need a playroom, if there are kids who are like, hey, actually in Flint especially is a very dangerous city in some ways. They have a lot of crime. The things that they're seeing in that hospital are like, kids are coming in with like gunshot wounds, crazy things. Things that like don't happen in 80% of the hospitals around the U.S., thankfully. But they're always looking for things that they can do to try to create, a better experience for the kids there, and to bring people in who can be a positive influence on the lives of these kids. And a lot of times funds from Children's Miracle Network can help with that kind of stuff. Sometimes it helps with go-karts, but obviously, with Extra Life, if you guys are supporting some of these hospitals, that's where a lot of it kind of is able to go to. And it depends hospital to hospital, but I just wanted to add to your points about where the funds end up and what they can do.
I guess to pimp the concept of the Extra Life Guilds a little bit right now, part of the fun of actually being part of the Extra Life Guild is you get an extra level of attachment to the hospitals, and you do get a bigger explanation, a deeper understanding of exactly what the money raised actually goes to, and it's always things you had no idea even existed, let alone required that much money.
Yeah, I know in particular when the guilds actually work with a coordinator at the hospital, so.
The LA Guild for reference,
yeah.
for clarity.
Yeah, so it's really cool because like we've been offered hospital tours, so you can actually see directly with your eyes where that stuff goes. So it's not like, well, you know, thanks, you went to this, and then that's that. If you really wanted to go there and walk around, you know, the coordinator's more than happy to give you a tour of where everything is and how things are going. I got to walk in this really cool x-ray room, and we walked us to the ER area, it was really gnarly, but yeah, luckily there was nobody there in the ER, which is great, because you don't like to see that kind of stuff happen, but, you know, it's nice to be able to have that kind of connection to where, you know, you're passionate about what you're raising, and you can actually see it unfold in front of you, so.
Very, very tangible.
Yes, very, yeah.
Totally.
You know, I got to go into the hospital at Bakersfield one time, and they showed us this room where they have these little bitty babies, like 1-pound babies, and those babies, you know, a few years ago would never survive. And you think about just what's involved in scaling a person down, you know, what a person would be if they were only that big. And their skin is like onion skin. I mean, it's just barely even there. And they couldn't put any kind of like ventilation, what are they, I don't know,
IVs?
whatever it is that helps them breathe. They couldn't put anything like that onto a baby to help it breathe, and so what they did is they have an oscillator that does just little tiny puffs of air 300 times a minute to keep air circulating in there so that that baby's getting oxygen. And those machines cost $100,000. And they needed, at one point, they needed 2 of them at once, and they only had one. They had to rent one, and they were charged $20,000 a day to rent that machine, as opposed to buying it. They didn't have the funds to buy it, and so they just ended up renting it, and the thing went on, and it's like, oh man, we paid for this machine 8 times. But that's the kind of situations that they're in, and you think, wow, their hospitals, medical costs are so high, they've got to have money coming in like crazy, and it just does not work that way. We had recently done an Extra Life event with our equipment at a high school. We brought our equipment to the high school and let the students there use our equipment to raise funds for the hospital. And after the event, some of the high school students got to go to the hospital to take a tour. And the lady from the hospital said it was the best day it could possibly have been for those kids to be there, because our hospital is small. They had 31 infant beds at our hospital, and they had 32 babies that day. So they actually had one more baby than they had beds for. You had to really hit home with those kids, like, this is why this is important. I'm going to start getting choked up, and then not even halfway through.
If you didn't get choked up, you know.
Someone get some tissues.
Yeah.
And like we mentioned earlier, Extra Life helps fund things that aren't just high-end machines. There are also things like prenatal diapers, as Alex mentioned earlier, that are essentially the size of Post-its and still cost, what was the number, like $5 a piece or something?
$5, well, no, they're like a few, like, they're pretty cheap, but the thing is, you can't buy them in like small pack, you have to buy them in huge bulk, which is where the cost starts to go
Yeah.
up, so. Yeah, it all goes towards that, but, so that's a little bit about Extra Life, pretty much.
So what's a little bit different about Extra Life LA and Extra Life Bakersfield is that Extra Life LA is done primarily by individuals all throughout the LA area. And so there's not like any centralized thing. Like you could imagine if these guys tried to put on an event and have everybody who participated in Los Angeles participate in their event, you know, the thing would be E3, literally. And so there's just not any way of doing something like that. So for them, it's easier to scale their program. If they want to increase the amount of money that they raise every year, they do that by increasing the number of people that are involved in the program. They go out and they push recruiting, they get in front of more faces, they explain the program to more people, and hopefully they sign up more people, and those people will go out and raise money. So that's how they scale in LA. And in Bakersfield, we're a little bit different. We're a smaller area, so we can do one single event and have the majority of participants come into that one event. So Dylan, why don't you tell us a little bit about how Extra Life got started at CSUB?
All right. So about 4 years ago, we were, the campus gamers were in one of our meetings. We have a meeting every week, and someone had mentioned Extra Life to us and what it was and how it was a gaming charity. And so we discussed it in the club. Everyone was interested in doing it. And so we were like, okay, we're going to participate in this event this year. And as it got closer to the event, we were like, if we're all going to do it, why don't we just have it as one big group event and just do it locally and just kind of open it to the public, and that way people who are in town as well could come participate, and we could all just get together and have a big little shindig and do this charity event. And so that's what we did, and from there it's just grown since.
So Johnny, hi. Tell us about the event at CSUB. Where is it held?
We usually hold it in the student union on campus, and it's very crucial for like a support system because holding it on the campus cuts down costs, and it makes renting the place easier. Electricity bills are kind of cut down, and it also expands just a bigger community within the university. So like other students that may not be a part of the gaming club are able to kind of come to this event, bring their family members, bring friends, and, experience different types of games, board games, video games. It just makes a bigger community.
One of the things that the event does too at CSUB is that it serves double duty at the university. So it's not just a fundraiser for the hospital, but it's also an event for the students that give them an opportunity to have a fun event. So, if you've been to college, there's always this thought that, man, there's like nothing going on here. I've got to go somewhere else to have fun because there's not anything going on. And so this event serves two purposes. It serves the purpose of giving them something fun to do on campus for a very nominal cost, where the alternative would be that it also raises funds for the Children's Hospital. So it serves two purposes. A lot of events on campus don't serve any purpose except entertaining the students, and so it really has no community value in that. And so this one does both. Mario, how do you handle all of the equipment for this event? You can come use my mic if you want.
Well, typically what we,
Twist it at the bottom.
that a little better? All right. Anyways, so typically how we handle equipment is that through our members and through the community or even local businesses, we ask that people volunteer their time and some of their equipment, and over time as a club, we also have accumulated equipment as well. One of the ways we try to keep costs down and also keep a supply of things is been doing a fundraiser through lanyards, and that's actually been one of our more popular methods alternatively raising money. With that, we're able to get, extra copies of Xbox 360, certain copies of games, controllers, batteries, because that's something that always runs out very quickly because setting up recharge stations takes time, they're not cheap, and ultimately, it's mostly through the efforts of those that are participating, and typically, the day of, we try to keep track of everything, write lists down, like, okay, put your name on this is your stuff, so at the end of the day, if something's missing, we can just double check the list, see what's left over, and that's more or less how we handled it for the most part. And aside from the occasional wire or controller missing, we've had very little issues with like missing hardware or anything very serious per se when it comes to handling the equipment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not possible for us as a group to own all of this equipment, and when we first started, the idea was that we would only get as large as the amount of equipment we could get donated for the event. So if we had enough students who had enough machines to run 40 stations, then that was how big our event was going to be. But we discovered just within the first couple of years that that was not going to work. And so at that point, we started going into the mode that the club would own inventory. And we get the inventory wherever we could. So we went out to yard sales and Goodwills and everywhere you could think to find inexpensive gaming equipment. But we also applied for community grants at Walmart. We went to the Westchester Kiwanis, which is the local Kiwanis club in Bakersfield, and they gave us cash donations to buy equipment. So we ended up with, and we had some game companies give us some serious discounts on equipment. The people that make those briefcase game units, they're called Games, G-A-E-M-S, they sell those for about $250, and they gave us an entire pallet of them for $60 a piece, so that we would have monitors for all of our games. Because what happens is you've got students that'll say, hey, I'm going to bring 7 game consoles. Well, how many monitors you bring? Well, I've only got 1 monitor. It's on the wall of the house. So I can't bring any monitors, but I can bring 7 game systems. Well, without monitors, they're not doing you any good at all. And so the monitors had always been a problem for us, and by getting these through the games company, that added 24 machines so we can engage more people at the event through that.
Can I jump in for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess in the Extra Life Guild, we're actually pretty lucky that most members have their own stuff, but we do at conventions and other events push this angle of you don't have, streaming is not the most important part. It makes it a more public event for everyone else, but it's very much like you can play really anything. Like I've made some jokes about it, but it's really all about the game angle of the fundraising part of it. So even if you don't have video game consoles, don't think that excludes you from Extra Life. There's groups that do D&D, which is just pens and papers at the end of the day. I think I've seen a couple Connect 4 things out there for it and stuff like that. So don't let your idea of what a gamer is limit your involvement with Extra Life or other gaming charity, because really it's about helping people and not exactly what you're doing within the broad spectrum of gaming.
And 2 years ago, we had a LARP group at our event. So they would show you how to LARP. You could go out on the patio and LARP with them.
I wish every Extra Life event was a LARPing event. I've been to a couple. Those things are nuts.
Make it like a requirement.
They were, I think it was vampire LARPing, which was, yeah.
That's great.
An evening of vampire LARPing to help children. That's, there's a level of twisted there I approve of.
All right, so Mika, the raising money part, how does that happen with the event?
All right, so right now,
We apologize in the audio for the sound you're about to hear.
So how we go about with raising money for Extra Life that happens at Bakersfield, specifically at CCV, that we've been doing lately is, since we have it on the campus, what people do is you basically just pay $20 admission. That's mainly for adults. Kids have a lower admission to get in. But the main thing for that is that money that you donate to get into Extra Life at our event is going to go to the hospitals. But also, we also give you guys incentives into donating the money, because in donating $20, you get 2 raffle tickets and then you'll get raffle tickets for every $10 you raise in that way. And the raffle tickets will go to these prizes that, we'll discuss later how we go about getting them and how they're given away through like raffles or silent auction. And so the incentive is to get people to register online, because we have a website that people can, they register their name, and usually for us, we'll have people sign up for Team CSU Bakersfield, but since we've expanded, now we have a Team Bakersfield, so people don't have to join just Team CSUB, because we've expanded to like Bakersfield College, so people can join Bakersfield College's Extra Life, account for Extra Life, just in general in the nation, because this year we had raised $30,000, and we want to, because that was our goal this year in recruiting people and having the Extra Life event just at CSUB, and that's amazing that our campus had done this, but we want to get the whole Bakersfield city to get involved and be raising more. So we went to Bakersfield College, we went to Centennial High School, and we're going to continue to do that and get more people. And then another incentive is to give raffle tickets to people who come in cosplay. So that's why we wanted to come here at LA Cosplay Con, because we want to reach out to cosplayers. This is another thing that you can do is, in getting into cosplay, you'll also get an incentive to have another raffle ticket, you get another chance to get prizes, and so on and so forth. And what we found out that the people that sign up to donate for Extra Life, 94% of them, once they make an account online, they will receive funds from those that will support them. Friends, family will support you. They'll donate to your cause. Kind of like 5Ks. They'll give you a certain amount of money for like every hour that you run, or every lap that you run with a 5K. With Extra Life, it seems like it's for every hour that you play, but for our case, we don't do it like that. You can raise however much that you want, but $20 is just a minimum to get into our event, and it's really fun because $20 is great when you think about it, because generally you don't really go to events where you can play a lot of different types of games for just a single fee. People will go out and spend like $100 or so on a number of games, but just $20 you can play a number of games. It's not even video games that you can do. You can do lots of board games, card games. I personally enjoy rhythm games because I'm very musically talented. So that's a lot of fun to do, especially because I don't have the resources at home to be playing so many games on such different consoles and things. But I digress. It's really great that we're trying to get more people involved and people being more charitable and donating thoughtfully, not thoughtlessly, which Ed will get into.
So Barbara, the prizes, where do the prizes come from?
Prizes come from different businesses, within our town, and also through other game companies. It could be ranged from anything, from, like we have lanyards, but it could be from different prizes. We also get prizes for, we use them for ticket drawings. We use them for winning tournaments from, I believe, from different fighting games or whatnot. And up until this year, if we were able to, if anybody who's able to raise $100 or so, we have incentives for that. They're able to get like a swag bag, if I remember right, that's what it's called. And I don't know, there's always various items that are in the swag bags, depends on what game companies or local businesses were able to donate.
And one of the ones we had one year was a Nintendo 3DS that was autographed by Charles Martinet, the voice of Mario. So you can imagine having a 3DS, a Mario and Luigi edition 3DS autographed by Mario and Luigi. I mean, that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's a sight. And also too, but lately it's been kind of getting, harder to come by as far as getting large donations, 100 of anything.
Yeah, 100 of anything is tough.
Like anything, pins, anything like that, it goes with it. And so we've been developing an idea with, for medals. Did it have anything specifically, what could be on the medals?
Something like the 100 at 100, we call it the 100 at 100 Club. And it would be like a 5K medal. People will pay $50, $60 to join into a 5K, and a lot of times they do it because they collect those medals. And so we wanted to have that kind of new thing with our event. The National Extra Life program has a medal program too. You get a silver medal for $500 and a gold medal for $1,000. But Bakersfield is so small that we're happy just to get somebody to $100, and so we try to give them an incentive to get to that.
And as well, we also have, like someone was mentioning over here, that we also hold silent auctions as well. And also we would get, donations from big companies like, Electronic Arts. Not, just so to speak, shout out to them. But other, various things, that, not just, donations of money, but also product itself.
Just to add a little bit to that, I know with Extra Life LA, we've actually reached out to a couple different companies as well, and they've given us stuff. I think a few years ago, we got like a couple sets of Cards Against Humanity from those guys.
Yeah.
We also got some capture card stuff from Elgato, and at least as far as internally for one of the guild incentives, the Extra Life United thing. We were talking
Yeah, we can talk about that.
So just to add a little bit about the Extra Life thing, at the end of the year, they have this big thing, well, afterwards, I think it's like this year, even in March or February.
It sounds right, yeah.
They have a big thing called Extra Life United, where it actually takes place in Orlando. And what they do is they have a big old, like, kind of mini tournament thing with different Extra Life.
Not mini, it's a tournament, it's a legit video game tournament.
Yeah.
It's a big one.
But there's much more that goes on during that day. But I know with Extra Life LA, what we've done is this year, the top raiser for Extra Life LA and then the top improved raiser gets all expenses paid trip to Orlando to be representing Extra Life LA for the Extra Life United thing. So that's something else we've thrown out there as far as.
We've gotten this opportunity via working so closely with the Children's Hospital. I guess before we move on from the How You Extra Life or fundraiser topic, part of signing people out are confused with a bunch when they sign up for Extra Life is, okay, now that I've signed up, how does this work? Part of signing up for Extra Life means Extra Life Prime or the organization behind Extra Life creates a fundraising page that you can then send to people to help fundraise. Like, it's a very, you never actually have to handle any money yourself, as long as you send them to the page, and that's how you raise the money ultimately.
Yeah, and as long as you can edit a Word document, you can edit your page. It's not a lot of hard work, and even then, one of the things is like, when you donate, it's tax deductible. You actually get a tax form from the page that you can print out and go towards file your taxes at the end of the year. So.
And it's not something you have to do like door to door, knocking on doors. No. When I was a kid at Y Camp, right, we'd go door to door and we'd sell butter toffee peanuts for $4. to send ourselves to Y Camp. It's not anything like that. So you ask for friends and family, you've got social media, help get the message out. Anything you can do to make your thing interesting is going to help you get donations like the world record dancer. That's pretty cool. And so, got the attention of some people with some money to spend, and they spent it by donating it to her, so that was cool.
Yeah, theoretically, spreading out the fundraising campaign for yourself is as simple as just putting your individual link, which Extra Life provides for you, in as much social media as you can, sending it to some friends via email, maybe texting it to them if you're crazy like that, and that's about as complicated as it gets in some ways. It's all about what you do with it after that point that helps drive it forward. And on top of that, there's actually something called Extra Life Platinum, which is Extra Life rewarding. If you think you're going to have a good run that year, if you're just feeling like you might be lucky, Extra Life will actually reward you if you hit certain tiers of fundraising with, I think the silver and gold medals were mentioned for $500 and $1,000, or yeah, $500 and $1,000. They also offer free shirts, some memberships, some video games, some demos. I actually got to play during the 2015 Extra Life. We raised enough money beforehand that we got to play the Extra Life only beta for the Fat Princess Diablo game thing, which was Fat Princess Adventure, that's what it's called. And Extra Life actually does give back if you're willing to invest into it, to do interesting stuff like that. And there's shirts, there's pins, there's memberships. The shirts this year actually are one of our guild members' designs, so we probably should pimp that a little bit harder.
Tomas, you want to talk a little bit about the fundraising and how you grow the fundraising year after year?
Yes, well, you see, the principles that go behind nonprofits and charities are actually very similar to principles that go behind general businesses. So let's assume you have a business and you have a product, and you're selling that product and it's making money. What do you want to do? You want to start selling more of that product. The steps to do that is you need to spend more money to make more things, to sell more things, to make more money. It's the cycle. And ideally, you would think the same thing happens when it comes to we want to raise more funds. What do we do? Well, in LA's case, because it's all individually based, we recruit more people. More people do more streams, that brings in more money, and it's the same principle. However, with Bakersfield, it's a little bit different because of how we have things run based on events. So because of that, if we were to follow the same idea, then what we would do is we would recruit more people, buy more consoles, buy a bigger space, do a bigger event. However, we've noticed, we have done this. We've done this in the past in which we've gained around 700 new people, except we didn't see that much of an increase. We were still getting the same people and it was the same community. The event was larger. It was a much better event. It was great. But we realized we hit kind of a ceiling as to what we can do with one event. So as Mika mentioned, we have actually started branching out to different locations and doing multiple events because our options, we can either buy $10,000 worth of PS4s and have a whole bunch of PS4s and a huge event in a warehouse somewhere, right? Or we can use the consoles and the inventory that we currently possess and simply hold multiple events at different times. By doing that, we reach out to different members in the community, we go around to different places, and we've been able to get more funding from each of these places we go to. In order to try and raise awareness with more people, one of the things we do is whenever we go to one of these new places, if you buy in that one-time fee, the $20, let's say we're holding an event at a high school, right? You also get into the actual main event that we do at CSUB as well. So that way there's extra value, and we're not necessarily trying to get people to pay for multiple events, we're trying to get more people to get involved, because not everyone is going to be able to go to the CSUB one, especially not all on the same time. People are busy. We have done this already with multiple high schools and with Bakersfield Community College as well, and we're currently looking to do another 3 to 5 high schools by the end of this year. So that's actually been doing really well for us, and we think that that will be able to help us continue growing and to move Bakersfield Extra Life into the future.
And it's great for the high school students because those students don't usually get an opportunity to participate in philanthropy. They don't know what it is, they don't know how it works, but they all play games. And so here's this opportunity for these students that are going to play games to add some other level of value to that. It's like, hey, some kid is alive because I played Halo 5 for 12 hours and raised money and bought something at the hospital that is going to help some kid, get over some debilitating illness or injury. And so when you do that, then it changes your enjoyment of this thing that you already enjoyed. And so by having these events at high schools, we can bring that to a whole bunch of people. And, let's be fair, we're hoping that at some point these high schools will start competing with each other to raise the most money, and then maybe we can catch our breath a little bit.
It's like the high school Hunger Games.
Isn't that just Hunger Games?
That was exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
I mean, we all know from high school, the seniors bully around the freshmen, so now we're going to be the college kids just getting the high school kids to do the work for us,
Pretty much. And actually, the high school thing is really interesting, because I know a lot of high schools require you to do volunteer work as part of your graduation, so this is like a perfect opportunity for them to connect. Yeah, so I mean, it's a win-win all around, I mean, just saying.
So Johnson, we're gonna do you, and then we're gonna go to Zach, because we want to give Zach a chance to talk about his. What are some of the obstacles that the club has had, and how did you overcome them?
I mean, the problem with this topic is a lot of it has already been addressed throughout the rest of the people. Like funding we needed to actually host our events, that's done through like lanyards and stuff. And the idea of, we thought recruiting a lot of people would earn us a lot of funding, like Thomas has stated, but it hasn't worked like that. But more of, we went to a route of being able to interact with the community more, and so we did like more events like the high school events, going to midnight game premieres, movie premieres, such as like the Star Wars one, where we also brought a decent amount of games, Star Wars games too. People enjoyed that. I mean, so many talks. Is there anything else?
The theater's been a big thing.
Yeah, do you want?
Probably the biggest obstacle was that your family has a limited amount of money that they can contribute to whatever it is that you do. And your family doesn't grow, right? You can go recruit more people for an event, but you can't recruit more family to support you. And so if you can't grow that pool of people, your number's not really going to change much. And so by increasing the exposure with the high schools and getting the face out there at other events, like we had never been to a theater, it's like, it's not game related. Why would we go to a theater? People who play games go to movies too. And they donated like crazy so they could get those lanyards. So we did something like $3,400 in donations for Star Wars weekend for the hospital, and we're like, man, we got to do this more often.
To add on to that, going to the theater has helped us a lot, but also expanding out to the high schools, like Thomas had mentioned, not everyone can make it to our, the yearly event on, this year's November 5th. Last year, a lot of people after the event were like, oh, dude, I really wish I could have gone, but, I had to work, or I couldn't get the day off, or something came up with family. Expanding it gives people more opportunities to go to the events, and that word of mouth also helps. Like, oh, hey, this is coming up, they're doing more of these, and then so that's also been a big help for us.
So I'm going to hand it to Zach here really quick. Zach is a friend of mine that I met in the Microsoft Most Valuable Professional program, and from the minute I met him, it's like, I want to beat this guy. And I'm going to make him blush, and I'm going to cry. So it's just going to, there's all of the panels over here, we're just going to fall apart right now. We do the Extra Life thing, and we want to communicate to everybody that you need to do something. Just pick a thing and do it, because it's better to do something than nothing. Don't worry about moving the world, just move your little piece of it. But Zach's got a great story about how that happened with him.
Yeah, I can start. I'll give you the crash course on Gamers Arts. And I don't want to hijack this because it's an Extra Life panel, obviously. Go for it. So I said it a little earlier. I help manage a charity organization in the video game industry, Gamers Outreach. We provide recreation and therapy to kids in hospitals through video games. We have a couple of initiatives. The first is called Project Go-Kart, and Go-Kart, in our case, just stands for Gamers Outreach Cart. And we build these portable video game kiosks that are installed inside children's hospitals. So if kids are stuck in bed, or if they've had a really big surgery and they can't access activities outside of their room, nurses and child life specialists and people in the hospital basically wheel these carts around and let kids play video games so they can have access to activities at the bedside environment. We have another program called Player 2, where we've been starting to invite gamers into the hospital to basically become digital activity managers for kids, to where they're basically like play buddies. So if kids, actually I'll use an example. In Ann Arbor, Michigan, it's kind of our hometown hospital. It's called Mott Children's Hospital. they've got Xboxes in all the rooms of the hospital. And so there are staff members there who have their normal jobs of taking care of kids, doing health checks and things like that, but they frequently need assistance when it comes to making sure kids have games to play. So we brought in some volunteers that are like going around the hospital, they're handing out games to kids, letting kids check out games, but then they're also spending time just playing games with kids. And this has been like really cool to see because you'd be shocked, well maybe you wouldn't be shocked, but kids love having someone come along who says, I just want to play video games with you. There are so many kids in the hospital that, I mean, first of all, Minecraft is by far the most popular game in the hospital right now. Probably not surprising. The most in-demand game. Kids get so excited when somebody comes along and wants to build with them and help them build their world. And we have a bunch of cool stories on our website right now. If you go to gamersoutreach.org, we've got one of the volunteers actually was just talking about how there's this kid who was in the hospital for an extended period of time, didn't really know anybody, but he was playing Minecraft with him. And while they were doing that, another kid kind of passed by in the hallway and saw Minecraft on the TV and just stopped and was watching. And so the volunteer was like, hey, do you want to come in and play with us? And so this kid came in and played, and so all of a sudden he's encouraging this social interaction between these two kids who never would have talked before. Well, then it turned out, basically, long point of the story is, by the end of it, there were like 3 or 4 kids in this other kid's room, all playing Minecraft, all building things together. And this volunteer was able to kind of facilitate this social experience, and obviously, hopefully in the future, they'll keep playing together. He was able to do this through video games. So we have all these crazy cool stories, but to Ed's point, and maybe original question, we got started pretty humbly. Actually, we were in high school when we started. Long story short, there was a police officer. Well, when I was in high school, some friends and I tried hosting a Halo tournament, and there was a cop who told us that video games were corrupting the minds of America's youth. And this is like charity aside, like literally, we just wanted to host a video game tournament, and this guy told us that kids were training themselves to kill playing violent video games, and that the tournament we were trying to organize was a hazard to public safety. And we had like 300 kids signed up at our local high school, so we had done all the work already. And we had to cancel the event because our superintendent got this voicemail and thought our event was a public safety hazard. So we ended up organizing a new event called Gamers for Giving a year later to kind of illustrate just all the positive things that can actually happen when gamers do get together for our hobby. And we realized we were going to make a little money on the first event we were going to host in our high school, so we thought, well, we still want to run a video game tournament, let's do that, and we'll just take the money we raise and we'll donate it to a charity cause. That kind of sounds cool. So that's how we just sort of got started. We're just honestly, to Ed's point, we're just a group of people who we were already interested in doing something. At the time, it wasn't charity related initially, but once we were involved with Gamers for Giving, and I'm saying this kind of from a high schooler's perspective, again to your guys' points, charity is one of those things where unless you have a personal connection to a cause, or you make that kind of initial leap of faith to get involved in the first place, most people are inactive, and that's okay. You kind of start out in that scenario, especially as a high schooler. Because a lot of times, if you ask a high schooler, like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? It's very rare that they'd say, oh, I'm going to go volunteer at the homeless shelter or do something along those lines. But if you're able to go reach people where they're at through things that they already know and can relate to, you'll have a much greater success rate, not only introducing them to something that they genuinely would like to be interested in, but also recruiting support for something that is important. And so, again, I'm speaking kind of from the high schooler perspective, but I remember at the time, I'd never been involved with charity work, but I knew I liked video games, and I knew our event at the time, I was like, wow, this is really cool and really fun, we should keep doing this. So we did Gamers for Giving, we ended up creating Gamers Outreach. And I guess I differentiate a little bit because, there are a few charities in the game industry that do stuff in the hospital, right? Like there's Extra Life, Child's Play. We all sort of do different things on the same playground. Extra Life is very concerned with generating the funds that are necessary for like healthcare or healthcare-related costs. So whenever you, again, kind of the point I said earlier, whenever you guys are participating in Extra Life, you're basically helping to sort of fund a whole variety of things that are, really important for all these different hospitals. And that differs hospital to hospital. Some hospitals are in like super dire financial straits. Some of them are like a little bit better off, but they can still use the funds to do really important things. And that's kind of what Extra Life focuses on. What we focus on as Gamers Outreach is we're kind of concerned with your quality of life while you're in the hospital. So we're very interested in like creating recreational and therapeutic experiences through games, and we try to create tools or platforms or programs that help make that easier in the hospital environment. So different things, same kind of general, audience that we speak to, I think, because it's easy for gamers to kind of understand what we do collectively. But that's a bit about what we do, and again, in a small world sort of way, Extra Life has been a cool part of that. I mean, there have been times where Extra Life fundraisers have ended up helping to fund some gamers outreach initiatives, so yeah, super happy to be here, and hopefully that gives an
I
idea.
do have one other question. Tomas wants to ask you something too, but.
I was
or
going
wants
to add on to what you were saying,
Oh, go
actually.
ahead, go ahead.
Do you mind if I talk
Yeah,
a bit about
yeah,
KIT
yeah.
as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think an excellent point was made was that games are used as a tool to get people thinking about something new using something they already know. So I'm actually involved with another nonprofit back in Bakersfield called Current Innovation and Technology. So our goal is kind of different because the idea is we want to increase the technology community in town. So we want more programmers, we want more people who have those kinds of skills to kind of revitalize the local economy and help shape up the city. One of the ways we're doing that, or that we plan to do that, is through video games. It's that same concept of being able to use video games to introduce people into new potential careers is our kind of target. So because of that, we're currently looking to partner up with Extra Life, and that's one of those other things, just how Extra Life has some sort of feedback with Gamers Outreach in which similar funding goes back into the carts. There's the same thing here, where there are common goals from different angles, but even though there's this community of different charities and different nonprofits that are each trying to do their own thing, it's not quite like normal businesses where we're not cutthroat looking to, gut each other. It all feeds back into the big picture, which is making the world a better place, whether that's through job opportunity, education, or hospitals. So.
And I want to do one more thing with Zach, and then we're going to call an end because we're about out of time. But Zach, your event that you did earlier this year, how much money did you guys raise at that event?
So we host a big LAN party out in Michigan. This year we raised about $172,000.
Nice.
And then it's, well, thanks. It's weird as an organizer, it's funny that you never really reach any type of pinnacle. There's always, we look at the event, we're like, wow, there's so much more room to grow. And I think that's true for whether because I remember our very first event, we raised $4,000, maybe it was years ago. But, and so now it's at $172,000, and we're like, holy cow, next year we should do 200, 250, I don't know. We host a big LAN party, so it's kind of like QuakeCon, if you guys are familiar with QuakeCon, if you've heard of it.
That may be a tad old for some people.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Well, so basically, we rent out a basketball stadium, and we set up all the networking equipment, and people come with their computers, their Xboxes, and they just play video games for a weekend. We'll host competitive tournaments kind of throughout that weekend, but then we also invite various streamers to come in to do various things. We actually had we have some specific programming where we did this thing called the Bob Ross Challenge. And basically all the streamers had to paint a Bob Ross painting, but you could donate to influence various things that would happen to the painting. So it was just funny. Basically if you watch some of these streamers or if you're a fan of them, it becomes hilarious because you can take away their brush and they have to paint with their face. Or you can glitter bomb, you can sabotage other people's paintings. So somebody would donate to one streamer's stream and they'd give him glitter so that he could go and just ruin another streamer's painting. So it just became this big game. And so that's kind of our event. It's a little more esports focused just because it's kind of where we came from, being rooted in video game tournaments. But it's definitely we always tell people look, it's a LAN party, you can come and do whatever you want. We have these activities that we do host, but it's pretty open. So it's amazing though, again, the money, the number doesn't necessarily, obviously the money makes a difference in terms of, what you're able to do the coming year, but it's really about the impact that's being made. What does that $172,000 really mean? And in our case, we're trying to build these gaming carts for Children's Hospital around the country. How can we do that more efficiently? How can we create more of them? How can we measure the impact? If we donate a cart in 2009, how long does that last, right? And how many kids get to play on that one cart, in a year? And so, one cart right now, we donated our first go-kart in 2009, it's still in the original hospital. And we estimate if 8 kids per day are using a single go-kart, we're probably approaching the point where maybe more than 100,000 kids annually are benefiting from the program. So it's something where I think that's important to ask, like, whenever you're fundraising or getting involved in any type of charity cause, like, you can always look at not only the dollars that are raised, but like what's really being done. Like, what is it that you relate to? Which is kind of why I'm here, right? Like, I mean, I'm from a different charity organization, but I very much support Extra Life, and I think it's amazing. And to your point earlier, like, I think among charities, it's not about competition, it's about cooperation. Like, the whole point of a nonprofit is we're working on something that's supposed to advance, a cause, an idea, a vision that may not necessarily be, a profitable thing. But obviously, the whole idea of fundraising and such is we're trying to generate the funds necessary to, like, advance various things that are going on, in the hospital environment, and things like that. So we're all about it as Gamers Irish. I mean, anything Extra Life does, we're always impressed by. I mean, the work that you guys have done is obviously, I mean, 30,000 is a lot of money. Nothing to scoff at all. And on top of that, too, I mean, the greater, the whole of Extra Life, it's just incredible what Jeremy and the team have built overall. Super impressive. So we look up to it a lot.
Well, and what we want to communicate to you guys, and the reason why I wanted him to tell everybody that number, was that none of this stuff's, his first year, he didn't do $175,000, right? We didn't do $30,000 our first year at Extra Life. We did $4,000, he did around $4,000. But the thing is that if you strike a nerve with somebody, they're going to realize that it was a need that they didn't even know they had, and here's an opportunity to solve it. And so don't be afraid to start something if it's not going to be very big, because it could end up being very big, very easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but I was going to say, stuff grows, and so don't look at it like, man, I'll never be able to raise $100,000. What's the point of even messing with this? All I can raise is $20. Maybe it is $20 this year, but maybe it's $50 next year, and maybe it's $100 the next year. Maybe some friends see what you're doing, and they see you sticking with it, and they go, hey, I want to be a part of this. And so now it's you and a buddy, and then it's a group of you, and then it's all your friends in your neighborhood or your school or whatever. And so don't be afraid to take that first step, because that first step is the first step of a whole bunch of steps, but you got to do the first one first.
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time focusing, I guess, on the bigger end of the events, but the small one-man events done out of apartments and homes are just as important in the grand scheme of things as the giant everyone-involved events, because it still all goes to helping kids at the end of the day.
I think, too, really the only way you don't grow or don't win is if you stop. That's really it. I mean, there were times where I could look back in Gamers Outreach history, and there are years where we actually did worse than the previous year, but we just kept at it. And something would happen and we'd say, oh, why did we not do as well this year? Oh, well, we could have done this, and this differently. So that also comes, I think, from making sure your intentions are in the right place. If you are doing something you genuinely want to be doing because you love to do it, and you realize, I'm a part of a cause that is helping kids in hospitals, and I'm just so thankful to be a part of that. As long as you just don't stop, you'll see tremendous results, no question.
Yeah. So I want to thank everybody for joining us in our panel, and I hope you take some of it to heart and go out there. Extra Life is signing people up at their booth through the end of the expo. They are recruiting specifically for the Los Angeles Children's Hospital, and we are raising money for the Bakersfield Children's Hospital. So come by our booth with our lanyards too, and we're giving away a couple of tickets to the Pokemon Symphony concert, which is Tuesday. Really, really nice tickets. So come by, you got a chance to win those.
And if you're not here in person or do not live in Los Angeles or the Bakersfield area, you can also go to extralife.org or .com.
Extra-life.org.
If you Google it, you'll find it. You can sign up there, and there are how many hospitals at this point?
170?
Yeah, that sounds right. Over 170 hospitals across the U.S., and I think a couple in Canada at this point.
Canada and Puerto Rico.
And Puerto Rico, apparently, that you can choose to support. Support local. If you know of a hospital near you that could always use some money, they all can. Go for it. Yeah.
Right, so thank you all very much.
Thank you for showing up.
Something Wicked Studios.
Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you give us a thumbs up down below, you share us with all your friends, and you subscribe to the channel. If you're looking for more videos right now, we've got a whole bunch of ones all over the channel you can get to by the links below. If you hit the random button, I promise to send you to a good one. You know you want to. Press it. Press it.